Hi, I'm Tom Ziegler, your host for Success 2.0. I just want to thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to have an exciting webcast with MichellePrince. She is awesome. She's going to talk about a subject that's so important to all of us. I'm going to save that for her, but I know you're going to love it. For those of you who are Success 2.0 members, thank you so much for coming back. We do this twice a month right here in our studios from Plano, Texas, our intergalactic headquarters. When we have people join on this broadcast, we'll have people from 30 to 40 different countries, and that is really, really cool. So we're glad you're here, all of our members. If you're a guest, if this is your first time that you're here, welcome. Let's go over a few of the instructions. We have on the page a download note-taking handout. So all you got to do is download it. Michelle's done some notes for you to follow along with. That way, anything that you want to remember, just write that down. We also have a chat feature. If you look at the chat box down there, you can log into that and you can participate in chat. That's totally up to you. We do ask, though, that if you participate in chat, just keep all of your content, or all of your questions, all of your comments on subject. We have an awesome community of people who build each other up, who encourage each other as we bring in these life-changing speakers, and we talk about content that can make a difference in what you do every day. And then at the end, we're going to have time for questions for Michelle. So during the webcast, if you have a question, you can look on the top right-hand side. There's a box there, and you can just write your question in and send it in, and that magically goes to Jill Tibbles, who's down in Austin, Texas. She takes those questions, and then she sends them in here to a computer that we have right here in our studio, and I will be asking those questions of Michelle. Before we get started, I just wanted to affirm to you and tell you what Ziegler is all about. See, Ziegler, we are in the life-changing, difference-making business, and there are two stories that I want to share with you. Both of them are about Dad. As most of you know, Dad went home to be with the Lord a few weeks ago, and we've gone through a tough time, but it's also been a time of joy and reflection and memory. We've had literally thousands and thousands of emails, Facebook comments, all different ways that people have shown their love for Dad and his message. And all of those, I want you to know, are heartfelt. We really appreciate him here. Myself as the son, my sisters, our whole team at Ziegler, we appreciate you for how you've reached out to us. But here are two stories that really illustrate what our company is about and what we are going to be about for the next decades to come. The first one is one that Dad would tell, and it was about a little boy, 6 years old, who wanted to play catch with his dad. And he'd go into the dad's office and he'd say, Dad, let's go play catch. And the father was busy. He was working on important stuff, and he needed to get it done. And he'd say to his son, no, not now, when I'm done. Well, the little boy kept pestering him. So finally the dad looks down, and he sees on his desk a picture of the world. It's like one of those big fold-out maps, and it's got the whole world on it. Maybe something you might have found in a National Geographic magazine. And the dad thought this. He thought, you know what? I'm going to cut this picture of the world into little pieces. I'm going to give it to my son and have him go put it together as a puzzle. So he hands it to the little boy, and he says, son, go outside, and when you get done putting this together, come in, then we'll play catch. Little boy runs out, and literally 60 seconds later, he comes back in. He says, Dad, I finished the world map. It's all done. I put it together. He said, son, how did you do that? That's incredible. The little boy looked at his dad, and he said this. He said, Dad, I noticed that on the back of the puzzle pieces, there was a picture of a man. And I realized that if the man was right, the world would be right. That's what our company's about. We're about building better people. We want to give you the tools, the inspiration, the motivation, the how-to, the attitude to become the best person that you can become. And our platform is real simple. And it goes back to a program that Dad had back in the late 70s, early 80s. And that program was called God, Family, Country. Chris Dunham, one of our speakers, was flying with Dad a few years back, and he asked this. He said, Mr. Ziegler, you know that program, God, Family, Country? Why did you do that? Why was it so important? And Dad looked at Chris and he said this. God, Family, Country. Someone to look up to, someone to lean on, and something to stand on. That's what Ziegler's about. We want to help every person, man or woman, become the best person they can be. Because when the person's right, the world's right. And it's got to be on that platform of God, family, country. That's what we're all about. That's why we're so excited to have Michelle here. Michelle, come on out.
Hey,
all right. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
All
Thanks
right.
for having me.
So Michelle is an expert at helping people get more done, accomplish the things in life, not only what they want to do, but what they were built to do.
Absolutely.
That's right. So I'm turning it over to you, and I'll see you in a few minutes.
Sounds great.
All
Thanks
right.
so much. Well, hi, everyone. I'm so excited to be here. I'm excited to close out 2012 here with Ziegler. And I want to talk about something that I believe we all can relate to. Whether you are a stay-at-home mom, a CEO of a company, or everything in between, I guarantee you there's something we have in common. And that is, I believe you are busy, right? Honestly, think about this right now. What are you busy with right now? If I came to you, if this were a live audience and I asked you to raise your hand, everyone raise your hand if you're busy, I guarantee all hands would be up. But the question isn't really, are you busy? Because guess what? We live in a world that it's a given. You're always going to be busy when we have social media, we have work, we have kids, we have personal, we have so many things going on. So the question isn't really, are you busy? The better question is, are you busy being busy? Are you busy doing things and running tasks and having to-do lists and full calendars and running all over the place with kids and work and everything else, but not really getting much done? Do you have lists that you know you want to accomplish, dreams that you want to accomplish, but yet at the end of the year, you look back and say, I didn't get it done. I didn't write that book. I didn't lose the weight. What you're so busy with matters. And what we're going to be talking about for this webcast is what we can do to really identify what's keeping you so busy, first of all, but more importantly, what can we do to make life more fulfilling? Make your activities, what you're busy with, matter. Make it make a difference for you and also for the lives of so many other people. So I'm excited to talk about this, and it's a topic I can definitely relate to as a mother of two young boys, busy businesswoman, and so much more. I know busy, but I'm going to help you stop being busy and be busy being productive. So a little bit about me, because some of you don't know me, and so I want to just give you a little background on who I am and what I'm all about. So it's best to probably start from the beginning. So, I started like most kids, most families. Here I am at 2 years old, the big curls, blonde hair, brown eyes. And you know what? I'm a normal kid. I had a normal family. I have great parents. I grew up in the suburbs of Chicago, and, everything basically going for our family. So, I started out pretty fortunate. And my mom and my dad were so good to me, and they always, would tell me how pretty I was as a baby and how people would stop and talk about my curls. Well, then you grow up. And I grew up, and things didn't work out so well for me. Those pretty curls, not so pretty anymore. I hit this stage in life very awkward. Yes, I'm sharing some really horrible pictures of myself with you, but there is a reason, I promise. And the reason is, I wasn't always a speaker. I wasn't always an author. I wasn't always doing what I love to do, which is sharing with you right now. I went through stages of my life where I didn't have the belief that I could do anything. I didn't have the ability or the goals. I didn't know what I wanted. I literally went through middle school, high school, just kind of wandering around, thinking, maybe I want to be successful, but I really had no idea what that meant. I didn't have anything pulling me. I didn't have passion. And then something happened to me in 1989. And yes, this is a picture of me with my big, huge 80s hair. How many of you grew up in the 80s and can totally relate to the big hair? Maybe you had parachute pants, maybe you had leg warmers. Well, I had the big hair, and I loved my big hair. But I share this picture because, quite honestly, something happened to me in 1989. I was just getting ready to go off to college. In fact, this picture was taken just 2 months after this life-changing event. I was going off to college, and I was going to University of North Texas, and my mom and my dad wanted to give me a big gift. They wanted to give me something that would matter, something that I would have for the rest of my life. And so, of course, it has to be a car, right? It has to be a car, or a laptop, or a computer, or money, or anything an 18-year-old girl would want, right? Oh, no, absolutely not. In fact, this gift was so far from anything I ever thought I'd want. And you know what it was? It was a ticket to a seminar. A seminar, come on. But you know what makes it worse? It was a motivational seminar. Motivation. I'm 18 years old. Do I want to be motivated? Absolutely not. But I went to this seminar, and it changed my life. It was a seminar called Born to Win, and it was hosted by this guy named Zig Ziglar. How many of you have heard of Zig Ziglar? Well, I had never heard of him. I certainly didn't want to spend 3 days with him, but I went, and those 3 days literally changed my life. You see, because for the first time, I'm around like-minded people. I'm hearing things that I'm sure my parents tried really hard to teach me, about goal setting, self-esteem building, balance, all the things that we know are important as adults. I'm learning them at 18. But not only just learning them, I'm absorbing them, and I'm getting so excited. I've never been in a place up to that point in my life where I felt so much in my own skin, if you will. I felt comfortable there amongst all these adults. I was there with my brother. We were the youngest people by far, but I felt something that weekend. And that something was, I know now, my passion. I figured out what I was passionate about at 18. Personal development, inspiring people, motivating people. When I looked up at Zig and all of these speakers on the stage, I immediately knew that that's what I wanted to do someday, that was going to be a part of my future. But I'm 18 years old. I really had no thought beyond that other than I knew this was somehow, some way going to be a part of my future. So at the end of the seminar, there's a long line of all these people that want to shake Mr. Ziglar's hand and get his autograph, and I was one of them. But when I got up to the front of the line and I saw Mr. Ziglar, I looked him straight in the eyes and I said, Mr. Ziglar, I'm going to work for you one day. You wait and see. I'm going to work for you. And I meant it. Have you ever been in a position where you can't explain something, but you just know it's going to happen? I felt that at that seminar. But then you know what happened? I went off to college, literally that next week. And I spent about 4.5 years in college, graduated, and I took a job that I didn't want to take. I knew I did not want to be a salesperson, but quite frankly, it was the only job I could get. So my job was working for a large copier company, and I sold these huge copiers. Now, you don't know me, but if you did, you'd know I had no business being technical and demoing these copiers for companies because, frankly, I didn't know what I was doing. But the coolest thing happened when I was at this job. It was, back in the day when we did cold calling, that wasn't picking up the phone. That was literally going business to business, office to office, and trying to sell copiers. Well, one day I'm cold calling in Carrollton, Texas, and I'm in this office park area, and I look up at the top of the building, and it says the Zig Ziglar Corporation. And I literally about fell over because I know the seminar was in Dallas, but it never occurred to me that Zig Ziglar was headquartered here. I'm from Dallas. I don't know why. It never made that connection. So when I saw the building and I'm standing there, immediately that rush of excitement that I felt at that seminar came back. And also the memory of, oh yeah, I'm supposed to work for this guy. So I run inside, and there was this beautiful woman behind the counter, and I acted like a little schoolgirl. But I run in and I said, oh my gosh, is this really where Zig Ziglar works? And she smiled and said yes. And I said, do you have any job openings? Because I will do anything to work here. And of course, in my mind, I'm thinking it's, I want to be a speaker. I want to work hand in hand. Well, you know what? It didn't matter. There was a sales position open. I sent in my resume. And as they say, the rest is history. I did get the job working for Zig Ziglar about 5 years, almost to the day, to when I said that to Zig. And I know it's because I was in a position where I knew what I wanted. I knew my definition of success. I knew where I wanted to be someday. Fortunately for me now, I didn't try to figure out the how. I didn't try to figure out which road to get me there. I just pretty much kept my eye on the prize, if you will. And then when I got there, I was so blessed to be able to work for Zig for about 3.5 years, doing what I absolutely loved, which was making a difference. I knew that no matter if somebody bought his CDs, or actually tapes back then, his books, whether they attended a seminar, whether they brought Mr. Ziglar in to speak for their company, I knew that the content that they were taking in would change their lives. It would change their lives like it did mine. And so it was so exciting, and I was so passionate, and I loved what I did. But I hit a stage in my life. I was in my early 20s, and I frankly thought that I needed to go to that next level, my next definition of success. I felt like I needed to move beyond what I was doing at Ziglar to do that. And so I did, and I left, and I went into software sales. And I did software sales for about 12 years. I was in corporate America, the real corporate America. Working at Ziglar was not necessarily corporate America. Beautiful place to work. But 12 years of being more successful. I made more money. I hit all of my sales goals. I had the nice things. all the things that I thought would make me happy. But you know what happened? They didn't. Over time, I started feeling more and more unfulfilled, unhappy. Not really myself, not doing what I felt like I was supposed to be doing. And, I kept going back to, and I'd even say it to family and friends, is, I want to make a difference. I know selling software is making a difference for somebody, but it's not the kind of difference that I want to make. So I went through a really long period of my life where I had to figure out, what do I want to do? Who am I? What am I created for? What is important to me? You see, all these years that I was in corporate America, I was busy. I was really busy, raising a family, traveling, doing all these things. But I wasn't busy with the right things. I was busy being busy. I was having my calendar was full. I was constantly on the go, but I wasn't fulfilled. I wasn't happy. And if I'm not full, how can I feed to others? My children, my family. So I went through this period of time, and it kind of came down to, I knew I wanted to get back to what I felt at 18. I wanted to inspire people. I wanted to help people. And I wanted to be like Zig. So I wrote a book, and I wrote a book just all about my struggles through life, and that pretty much launched me to do what I'm doing today and to be sharing with you. But I tell you all this to tell you, I am no different than you. I started with a normal childhood, probably like you. I mean, trust me, I had my ups and downs. I chased a golden carrot here and there. You probably have too. But in the end, I think we all want the same things. We want to be busy, but doing things that matter. So what I'm going to be teaching you for the next time that we have here is some specific strategies. There are things that you can change today. And it's so exciting because you literally can make a difference in your life starting today with just some small adjustments to how you're doing things, how you're managing your schedule. And we're going to get right to that. But first, I want to bring Tom back and tell you a little bit more about Success 2.0.
All right. Thanks, Michelle. But before you come here.
Oh.
Michelle's come. This is your second book?
Yes.
Yes, your second book's coming out.
Yes.
And what's it called?
It's called Busy Being Busy.
Oh, how appropriate.
But getting nothing done. It's all about how do you stop juggling, overcome procrastination, and get more done in less time.
How many pages is it?
It's 120 pages. You can read it like that.
So what's the perfect age to read it?
The perfect age, I keep things simple. So really any age. I do a lot of work with college kids, so teens, colleges, but really the people that will benefit most from this are those that are juggling business, family, and want more time to enjoy life.
So pretty much if you've got a smartphone and you text and you're on Facebook and you have email, and you're using all those things to stay connected, you need this book.
Absolutely.
You need this book. Okay.
Absolutely.
Busy Being Busy. Let's do this. Let's give away 3 of them. Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
And we're going to do something different. We're going to give away 2 copies of each one to the same person.
Yes.
We're going to do an electronic copy, which you'll get right away. And then we'll give away a hard copy, which is going to be out right after the first of the year.
It's actually at the printer right now, being printed. So within the next 2 weeks, it'll be in our hands.
Okay, that's this way you get it both ways. Is that okay?
Absolutely.
So let's see. So in the subject line on the email, if you put in "Busy Being Busy," we're going to take the 7th, the 12th, and the 18th.
Perfect.
And just in a few minutes, we're going to say who are the winners for this. So, Michelle, I'm going to tell them a little bit more about Success 2.0, and then we'll get back to Michelle. For those of you who are a guest on Success 2.0, we do these webcasts twice a month. We always do one professional skills, one personal development. But we also have, for our members, we have so many other benefits that I want to share with you. We have what we call our Ziglar Success Institute. And this is an incredible vault or a library of all of Dad's powerful audio and video programs. We have how to stay motivated in there, raising positive kids, courtship after marriage, secrets of closing the sales. We have a program called 52 Sales Lessons. We have Christian motivation for daily living. I mean, we have hours and hours, over 200 hours of this life-changing content. We also have now over 80 of these webcasts in there. You can go back in time. You can actually see where Michelle was here before. We've had Dennis Waitley and Dave Ramsey. I mean, we've had some incredible names that you can go back and learn from. Many of these you can download immediately to your phone or to your MP3 player and take with you. The programs that we normally sell through retail, you can get one download a month on those. So you could actually take the first audio recording of how to stay motivated and get one of those every week. Tons and tons of benefits. Now, the reason I want to share this with you is when I reflect back on what Dad was about, he was always about and is about living on in his legacy, inspiring hope. The idea is real simple. People who have hope take action. And we hope that's why you're here, because you're looking for that little bit of inspiration, that little nudge that will get you to take action. And so we've made it real easy for you to take action and become a Success 2.0 member. Because you see, when you have that hope that things can be better because you make a choice or a decision to make them better, the first decision that you need to make about that decision of things can be better is what are you going to put into your mind. That's the first decision you need to decide on. What are you going to put into your mind? So in our Success 2.0 membership, you can have access to everything I just talked about for 1 month for only $1. We call this our trial membership. $1 gives you over $6,000 worth of resources. We do this, it's real simple. We want you to test for yourself if it makes sense for you. Not everybody enjoys going online 24/7, getting exactly what you need when you want it, listening to it or watching it right there on the screen, or downloaded some things and taking it with you. That's why we've made this offer. Now, once you've decided this is for me, you don't have to do anything. We'll automatically monthly bill you $37 a month. And if you want to unsubscribe at any point, you can just do that at any point that you want. In fact, if you unsubscribe in the first 30 days, you will never even be billed other than that $1. For those of you who sign up now, we have this bonus. You've got to do this before Friday to get this bonus. Maintaining a Winning Attitude, Part 1, that's a 60-minute audio download. You can take that. So for $1, you get unlimited access for 30 days, and you get this download as part of that. The last thing I want to tell you about is we have an annual membership bonus. You can sign up for a complete year for the whole system for $370. That'll give you 12 months of access to everything I talked about. Plus, we will send you Dad's brand new Born to Win library that came out about 18 months ago. We partner with Nightingale Conant. It covers all the best information: attitude, motivation, self-image, goal setting. And here's the cool thing. This was recorded in the early 80s. Michelle, when did you go to Born to Win?
1989.
Okay, 1989. So these recordings were actually 80, 81, 82, and it was when Dad did the entire program. He covered everything. So there's 15 hours of audio, and then there's 3 DVDs in there. So you're going to love that. So if you want to sign up for the annual, you could go ahead and sign up now. There's a button on your screen where you can link over. Or we're going to send everybody today who's registered an email with more information on how to do that. Let me check over here and see who our winners are. So, Michelle, we got good news. We've got John Robinson from North Carolina and Carol Corp. All right. Those are our winners.
Great job.
I'm turning it back over to you. Okay. Knock them alive.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just have to say, too, on the Success 2.0, you know, I have what I think is pretty much everything that Ziglar has ever produced, every CD, every book, and I'm still a Success 2.0 member, and I have been for the last several years, and it's mostly because having the ability to download and have that information immediately, you know, from your smartphone or from your computer is priceless. So I encourage you to take advantage of that. All right, so now I want to jump into the meat of this because I really want to give you some strategies to become more effective, more productive, more focused, and to get more done so that you can have a happier life. But first, before we do that, I need to talk about the 4-letter word, you know, busy, because it is a 4-letter word, and sometimes we think of it as a bad thing. But sometimes we think being busy is a good thing. You know, I'm always amazed when I meet people. And it's kind of the reason why I wrote my book, to be honest with you. I'll run into somebody that I hadn't seen in a while, and I'll say, "Oh, hi, Tom, how are you? It's so good to see you. What have you been up to?" And the very first thing out of their mouth is, "Oh my gosh, it has been so busy. Crazy business, or crazy busy. Our business is so busy." And what's our normal response? "Oh, that's great. Well, busy is good." But is it? It's really not, unless you're really being productive. So I want to give you a new definition for what busy is. Actually, it's an acronym, because I want you to change your definition of busy. I want you to see what busy really is, and I'll put some steps in place to help you achieve that. And what it is this. Balance ultimately saves you. You see, it's not a juggling act. It's not about, juggling kids and work and everything else. It's a balancing act. It's about really looking at what's important in your life and balancing those things. Back when I was in my corporate America days and I was busy, like you wouldn't believe. I had 2 kids in elementary school. I was traveling with my job full time. I was volunteering at my kids' school, volunteering at church. I have a husband. I have family and friends all here. So I was busy. I know what that is. But I thought juggling all those things was actually a good thing. But what was happening was I wasn't really doing any of them any good, because they're all kind of up in the air, and I wasn't focusing on the ones that were the most important. And that's where balance comes in. Now, for those of you who are familiar with Ziglar, you're probably familiar with the Wheel of Life, and that is that we're all built on 6 core principles, meaning we're not just all about work. We're not just all about personal or spiritual. It's a combination of all of these things. So when you're thinking about what you want to accomplish in life, you have to think about all the areas. You have to think about, what do you want to accomplish in your career? Think about your finances. How much do you want to make? But then think about your family. What do you want to accomplish there? Your spiritual life, your personal life, and all of that makes up your balanced self. And it's so, so important. I'll give you another way to look at this. Okay, so here's a picture of some vegetables. For those of you who love vegetables, I do. This was actually a picture I took before I did some juicing not too long ago. Vegetables are great. And what do we know about vegetables? If you eat these, how are you going to feel? Are you going to feel energetic, healthy, probably happy because you're doing your body some good? Now, what about this? What if you were filling your body with all this stuff? Junk food, pizza, fast food, sodas, alcohol, all of these other things. Well, what's that going to do to your body? How are you going to feel? Are you going to be lethargic? Are you going to be overweight? Probably. Could you possibly get more serious consequences like diabetes? The point I'm trying to make here, what you put into your body fuels how you're going to feel. What you put into your life, what you put into your schedule, is going to fuel how you're going to feel. And it's that simple. And I really want you to think of that analogy, because at the end of the day, we are responsible for our calendars. We've put what's in there. So we have to take responsibility. But think of it as a balanced approach as opposed to just juggling. So now what I want to do, I want to give you some really specific tips on ways that you can increase productivity. So we talk a lot about time management. There's a lot of tools out there for time management, excellent ones. But time management is important, but it's also about life management and being productive with your time. So I want to give you 5 tips that you can put in place actually right away to help you be more productive. And the first one is start early. Now, I know I'm losing some of you already because you're thinking, oh, I don't want to have to get up early. I know that I should, but I'm not a morning person. Well, let me tell you something. You've never met a bigger, night owl than me. I am not a morning person. I've never been a morning person. In fact, I don't enjoy getting up early. But getting up just at least 1 hour, possibly 2 hours earlier than you normally do, will completely change your productivity. Completely. This is a huge, huge step. Just 1 hour of allowing yourself to get to some things that, maybe during your day you don't have time to do. How many times do you end your day? You start your day actually with a list of like 10 things to do. And by the end of the day, you still have at least half of them to complete. Why? Because you didn't find the time to get it in. We'll talk about the time factor in a minute. But what I believe is if you can start early, just at least 1 hour, and check off one thing before you finish your first cup of coffee, I can assure you that you will be more productive. Number one, it's going to make you feel good. It feels so good to accomplish something early in the morning. And it doesn't have to be work related. It doesn't have to be something related to a project or your business. It could be maybe this is when you fit in your quiet time. Maybe this is when you fit in your workout time. Whatever it is that's important to you that you get done in a day, again, going back to our balance and what's important in life, this is the time to fit it in. I was just having this conversation with somebody in my house this week. I have a household full of sick kids and a sick husband. We've had the flu this week. And one of them, as I was getting their medicine ready for them, said to me, I don't want to take it. I don't like it. I don't want to take this medicine. And I said to him, you know what? We don't take medicine because we like it. We take it because it's going to make us feel better. We take it because it's going to make an impact. Well, here's the exact same thing. I'm not asking you to enjoy getting up early. I'm not saying you have to change your whole body clock and become a morning person. What I'm saying is sometimes you have to do something to get the results you want. So if you want to work out more, if you want to get more done, if you want to really get that book written or follow your dreams and your goals, well, then you have to make choices. And the easiest one that I can tell you to make is just get up 1 hour early. I assure you it will make an enormous difference in your day. All right, second thing is, now some of this is, for some of you, this might be the first time you're hearing this, but for others, this might just be a really good reminder. And simplicity is, well, that's the key, right? And this is simple. Prioritize. We all know we have to prioritize. We know we have to prioritize our day. We know we have to prioritize our family, all of these things. But here's the real problem. When I'm talking to people about, productivity and all that, the first thing I ask them to do, a coaching client, I'll say, let me see your calendar. And there's always a little bit of hesitation, like, why are you asking to see my calendar? And I always say, I can tell so much about you based on your calendar, based on where you're spending your time. You see, when you say, your family is the most important thing to you, but yet your schedule allows no family time, then you're not necessarily in alignment. If you say, building your company to be $1 million company or making $5,000 more a month or whatever that goal is for you in your business, but yet your calendar is full of a lot more social things, then it's not congruent. So what I'm suggesting here is you have to prioritize. You have to really know first and foremost, what do you want? What is important to you? It goes back to the wheel of life. What do you want for your career? What do you really want? Where do you see yourself? What about your finances? How much do you want to have in the bank? What's important to you? Is it paying for your college, your kids' college? Is it having retirement? Knowing these things and building that out first, what your dreams and your goals are, and then prioritizing them. You see, when we schedule our priorities, the things that are important, they're kind of like, most people know the analogy of the big rocks. If you've never heard this analogy, that if there's a big jar and the big rocks represent our main things in life, family, work, finances, spiritual, all of those things, we put those in a container first. Well, then all the other little pebbles, the little stones, find its way in there. But if we put the little things in our calendar first, it's really hard to fit those big rocks. So what I'm suggesting is, once you've figured out what you want to accomplish in each area of your life, schedule it. Get it in there. If your relationship with your spouse is so important to you, then schedule a date night. Get it in your calendar. If your physical fitness and your health in 2013 is the most important thing for you, then there's no way you can get up every day without having it scheduled. Because more than ever, I believe we live and die by our calendars. Most of us do. Some have electronic calendars, some have it, as a day timer. But most of us at any given time will be looking at our calendar, and we go by that. We base our day on that. So what I'm saying is prioritize and schedule. Get it in there. This is never a good topic, because when people come to me, they're always flustered with being busy, and I say, but here's the thing, and you're not going to want to hear this, but you put those things in your calendar. You chose to be that busy in those areas. Now, sometimes other people put things in your calendar, but chances are good you've approved them. So go back and look at what is it you want to do, and then make sure those are in your calendar first, and everything else will find its way in. All right, moving on. Productivity tip number 3. Focus. Focus, focus, focus. But what does that really mean? Well, we are living in a world right now that I know it's busier than it's ever been. I think back to my parents' generation, and my goodness, my grandparents' generation. They were not busy with half of the things that we have going on in our lives. Most of us are working parents. We're also trying to fit in some personal time, and all these different things take away our attention. So here's what I'm suggesting. Focus on one thing at a time. Multitasking has become a very popular thing, almost like it's a great thing, like an award for it. Oh, I'm so good at multitasking. I'm good at juggling, kind of going back to the juggling thing. But the real truth is, when you multitask, when you are working on 2 or 3 things at one time, what you're doing is you're really not doing any of them effectively. And what's really happening is it's taking you longer to accomplish one thing than it would if you put all of those other things aside and just focused on that one thing until it was complete. I really challenge you to try this starting tomorrow. Whatever it is you have to do in your business, let's say you have to get a proposal out. So rather than getting a proposal out and also checking emails, maybe checking your phone and doing a few other things at the same time, what I'm suggesting is don't turn on your email, don't look at anything else, don't even look on your phone, don't go to Facebook, don't do anything else until you've done that one thing. Then you can move on to the next. Because the amount of time and energy it takes to go from here to here to here to here, you're losing productivity, you're losing efficiency. And I guarantee you, if you try this, you will find this to be true. Multitasking is not the answer to being more productive. Focus on one thing is truly the answer to being more productive. All right. Now this next tip is might seem a little bit strange, but I'm suggesting that you close the door. Now, if you work in an office that has a door, this one's pretty obvious what I'm trying to say here. But closing the door is a lot more than just a physical door. It's blocking out distractions. It's taking away the things that are, getting the best of you, the little distractions that are out there. If you work in an office environment, in corporate America, and if you have employees or coworkers, and an office is busy, there tends to be a lot of office talk. There tends to be a lot of distractions in the office. So if you're truly going to be focusing and not multitasking, you want to close that door and shut off all of that distraction so that you can focus. But now some of you are saying, but I don't have an office. I don't have a door. I work from home, or I work in a cubicle. How can I possibly do that? Well, it's really a metaphor. So what I want you to do, though, is more figure out what's going to work for you. When I worked for Zig Ziglar in the 90s, I worked in a cubicle. In fact, the office at the time it was a large office, and we had a lot of people working there. And as you can imagine, it was a great place to work. And because of that, we all became really, really good friends. And there were so many of my coworkers that to this day are my dear friends. So what do we like to do? We like to talk. And every morning when we'd come into work, it was, hey, how was your night? How was your weekend? How are the kids? What do you have going on this week? And before you know it, all that office chit-chat kind of comes into the day. Well, back then, I was in sales, and we had a quota of cold calls to make in a given day. I think it was like 100 calls. So it was something that I needed. When I walked in that door, I needed to get to work in order to really hit my numbers. But I was being distracted by all these other people, very much trying to be my friend, but taking me away from what I wanted to work on. So what I did is I closed the door to my cubicle. I literally did this, and I believe I learned this from Zig, or maybe it was Tom, but somebody within the Ziglar organization suggested this, and I did it. I made a sign, I posted it boldly on my cubicle, and I had my office hours, literally. So if I got there at 7:30, from 7:30 to 10, was my office. I was in the office, meaning nobody bothers me, and that was it, no chit-chat. But from 10 to 10:15 was my break time, which meant, okay, that's a good time. Maybe I can go over to the water cooler and talk to my friends and ask them about their weekend. But what it was doing was setting boundaries. That's really the biggest thing here. We say we're so distracted by other people or people coming into our office demanding things, but really it's about setting boundaries. And if you are holding on to your schedule and it's important enough to you, you need to have the boundary to say, this is when I'm available and no other time. So closing the door, again, it's more about shutting out whatever is taking you away from what's really, really important. Because your friends, your coworkers, and everybody else, they will understand. And in fact, I bet they'll respect you for it even more, because your time is so valuable. So make sure you set that boundary with everyone around you. All right. Now this last tip is kind of funny. It's called Get Talking. And what I'm wanting you to think about here is, I would bet most of you watching this webcast have a cell phone. I would bet most of you are on social media. Maybe you are on Facebook, maybe you're on Twitter, maybe you have a blog. You have a lot of different ways. I'm sure all of you have email. So we live in a time right now that we have so many different options for communicating. It's actually such a blessing, but then also a curse, because we can be reached at any time of the day, any time of the night. We're always accessible. So what I'm trying to suggest here is we waste so much time through means that we think are more efficient. Facebooking posts, emailing, and even text messaging. I'm challenging you to think a little bit differently about those, because what you can accomplish by picking up the phone, you can be so much more productive and efficient. Because what usually happens, let's say you have a request to send to your boss or to a coworker. You send an email, then they send an email back, maybe clarifying what it is you want. You send another email back, and before you know it, you're playing this ping pong back and forth on one simple little thing that needed to be done. What would have happened if you just picked up the phone and say, hey, real quick, I just wanted to let you know this is what I need, and lay it out. It is so much faster. Now, I get a lot of pushback on this one sometimes because people say, well, but text messaging is so quick. And I have to say, I do love to text. That is definitely my favorite way of communicating. But think about this. When you send a text message to someone, chances are really good it's not the only text message. Either one, you're waiting for them to send you a message back, so you're constantly, getting distracted looking at your phone, or you get into this little conversation and before you know it, 15, 20, 30 minutes go by and you're just back and forth with a text message. So I really want you to try this and let me know how it works for you. But when you have anything that you want to communicate, rather than sending that text, rather than sending the email, pick up the phone. Now again, going back to the last point, it's about boundaries. Sometimes people say, well, I don't want to get on the phone with this person because they'll keep me for 30 minutes. Well, your time is your time. You set that boundary. So by telling them, hey Tom, this is Michelle. Listen, I have 5 minutes. Here's what I need to accomplish. You just made it very, very clear. Your time is short. It's valuable. And you're going to get it done, versus that conversation could have maybe gone on all day if you were just doing it back and forth with email. So give it a try. It's definitely something that I have done myself. I find it to be so much more productive and so much more helpful for me, and really it gets a lot of my tasks done, just by picking up the phone. All right, so I want to give you a tip. So once you've identified, what it is that's important, meaning like what are the things that you really want to focus on. And this is all tied to the things that you learned through Ziglar about setting goals and having dreams and all that. But you have to put a plan in place. And your calendar is the best way to do it. So I want to give you an idea of the best of something that I do, and it's called the Power of 3. And it's a really simple tool that will help you to stay focused, to get the things done that need to be done in that particular day. And it's just a real easy way for our minds to grasp all that we have going on and keep us focused. And that is this. Every morning when you get up, or actually I recommend doing this the night before. Preparation is key to anything. Some people like to prepare the night before their day. Other people like to get up early and prepare. It's okay, whatever works for you. But you have to always prepare your day. The worst thing you could do is just wake up and then go sit down in front of your calendar like, oh, what's my day? You're reacting to your day. So no, first and foremost, you have to put a plan of what do I want to accomplish this day. But if you're anything like me, you probably have about 20 or 30 things on that list that you want to get done in a day. I mean, let's face it, we all have a lot to do. And sometimes what happens with that is it's overwhelming. And we think we want to get all this done, but what happens by the end of the day, we look and we say, oh my gosh, I didn't do it again, or I didn't accomplish what I wanted to do. So the Power of 3 is just a simple way to narrow down the things that you want to work on, but you're picking the 3 most important ones. You're picking the 3 things that are most important and that you're going to accomplish that day. So the Power of 3 is not the place to put, I'm going to lose 10 pounds. You're not going to do that. The Power of 3 is what are you going to do today to maybe help you lose 10 pounds? Maybe it's scheduling working out. Maybe it is making a shake for lunch. Whatever that is for you. But the Power of 3 is so simple, but so effective. Because when we only have 3 things to focus on, it just makes it a lot easier. And most of us are taskmasters. Most of us like to, check something off our list. I am actually one of the worst about that. I love the feeling of accomplishment. So when I have finished something and I can scratch it off, it feels so good. And when you can scratch off all three, there's a sense of accomplishment. When we feel like we have a sense of accomplishment, we want to accomplish more. So it's a simple way of doing it. But here's the big thing about the power of three. Not only are they three things you're going to do that day, but you're also committing to yourself that you're not going to do anything else until they're done. Now, ideally, I would like for you to have all three done before you open up email or check Facebook or any of that. But, okay, even if it's just one. But make that item, whatever it is, the first thing you do in the day. It's real simple if it's working out. If it is getting a proposal out the door, then do that. It's kind of like that whole eat the frog thing that we've all heard so much about, but you've got to tackle the most important thing first thing before you do anything else. And this requires discipline. So what I suggest is if you do have a cell phone, a smartphone that beeps every time a text or an email comes in, shut it off. Put it on airplane mode. Do something. But don't be distracted. If you have email that pops up and lets you know every time an email comes in, if your Outlook does that, turn it off. Your only way to be productive is to focus in on one thing at a time without the multitasking and then making a commitment to getting it done. There's no other way it's going to happen. But here's the fun part. So at the end of the day, we only have these three things, and I put them on a little sticky sheet of paper, or I have another sheet that I use. And at the end of the day, when I've done all three, or even if I haven't finished all three, I crumple up that piece of paper, I throw it in the trash, and that day is done. And then the next day, it starts all over again. So there's no guilt about I didn't get it done, it's moved to the next day, but it's just a new focus and a really simple way to stay really targeted on the things that matter. And what's really exciting about this is that as you do this, and you're going to become better and better at this, over time, those 20, 30, 40 things that you want to accomplish in a year or in a month or in a quarter, you're going to start to see them checked off, and you're going to be getting closer and closer and closer to your dreams and your goals by taking action. And, really, that's what it all boils down to, right? It's about taking action. It's about overcoming whatever is holding you back. But even though I'm giving you all kinds of tools and strategies, there's still a problem. You see, we can know everything there is to do. We can know what our goals are. We can spend time, doing our power of three. We can be so good about keeping our calendar intact and yet still not accomplish our goals. And you want to know why? Well, it's the number one dream killer, and that is procrastination. You see, procrastination is something that lurks around all of us. We are all procrastinators. But here's the thing. Really, truly, what is procrastination doing for you? Procrastination is keeping you from what is going to make you happy. Those 12 years that I was in corporate America, I'm sure, of course, in the back of my mind, I knew I wanted to go back to what I loved, but I procrastinated. And what happened? Over time, I became more and more unhappy and unfulfilled. And how am I shining my light to others if I'm not, happy? So procrastination is something that I really want to spend some time on because, like I said, you can know what to do and still not get it done. And there's some pretty good reasons for it. So I want to give you 4 reasons or 4 ways that you can overcome procrastination. Because if you can't get through this part, no strategy in the world about time management or productivity is going to help you until you can get past this. So step number 1, overcoming procrastination. First and foremost is identify what's holding you back. There's so many different things going on with us personally, so many different thoughts going through our head. I told you that, when I was earlier in my life, I had a negative self-belief. I had a negative belief that I could accomplish what I wanted to accomplish. And even those years in corporate America, I had a negative belief that I could write a book. I didn't believe I could do it. So that held me back. But there's something else that holds so many people back that is so much bigger than negative belief, and that is fear. It ties together with a negative belief. But fear is so rampant, and it's truly what's causing procrastination. You see, because if you're afraid that, what if I don't succeed? What if nobody likes it? What if I fail? What if I waste all this money and it doesn't work? The fear of failure is huge, and it's definitely something that's probably causing some of your procrastination. But there's something else. And I see this more and more, especially with coaching clients, is it's not always the fear of failure that keeps people from doing what they want to do. It's the fear of success. It's the fear of, what if this works? What if I go after my dream? What if I write a book? What if I do this? Then I'm putting myself out there. There's sometimes that fear of success, will things change? Well, how will I have to quit my job? How does that impact my family? So I don't know what it is for you. It could be a combination of the two. But you really have to figure out first and foremost, what is really holding you back? Not superficially, but really digging deep. This is something you have to do on your own to really figure yourself out. But why aren't you accomplishing your goals? Why is it that every year you say you want to do something and it doesn't happen? Is it fear? Is it distraction? Is it negative belief? Identify that, and that's the first hurdle to getting over it. Step number 2 for our overcoming procrastination is practice discipline and motivation. Nobody wants to hear this, and I know that, we live in a society that we want things fast, we want results immediately, we want to make $1 million without doing one bit of work, and we want to do it overnight. I mean, that's just kind of the society we live in, right? But the bottom line is this, nothing in life is going to be that easy. And truly, nothing worthwhile is going to be that simple. So you will have to work towards your goal. You will have to have discipline in getting up early and doing the things that you know you have to do. But here's the good news. You see, when you are working within your passion, your purpose, your calling, it doesn't feel like work. It doesn't feel like drudgery. When I was writing my book, my first book, Winning in Life Now, I was working full-time, had the kids, was doing all the things, juggling, very, very busy. But I got up earlier than I ever would get up to work on that book. I stayed up later than I ever stayed up to work on that book. So I was working really, really hard. But you know what? Looking back, that was some of the happiest times for me. Because, you see, that was my passion. It was something I had to do. It was part of my calling. So when that happens, you're being pulled. You're not having to push it. Meaning you will have to work at it, but it won't feel like work. So figuring out first and foremost, again, what is it that lights you up? What is it that's important to you? What are your dreams and goals? But then putting a plan in place. But it's not going to be easy. No one is, and don't let anyone convince you otherwise. But truly, if you take some of these strategies and schedule it and prioritize it and stop multitasking and doing all these different things, I guarantee you can get past it. But don't let a little bit of work make you procrastinate on your real dreams. Number 3, dust off your dreams. I love talking to kids, and I get an opportunity to talk to high school kids, college kids, but every now and then I get an opportunity to talk to little kids, and I love being with, kindergartners in a room full of them because they're so full of dreams and goals and excitement. And you ask them, what do you want to be when you grow up, or what do you want to do? All their hands are flying up, and they just can't wait to tell you about their dreams and goals because they have them. They didn't get rid of them. And you do too. Somewhere along the way, you had big dreams, you had big goals, you wanted to accomplish something. But what happens to most of us is somewhere along the way we lose sight of those dreams. We lose sight of what's important to us because we get so busy. We aren't doing the things that matter most because we're too busy. So dusting off your dreams, what I want you to do is I want you to really think back to a time in your life. It could have been 5 years ago, it could have been 20 years ago. But when you had a big dream, a big goal, I'm not a betting woman, but if I was, I would bet that spark, that dream is still within you. That there's still, maybe you always wanted to go to Italy. I bet you still do deep down, even though you have all the excuses in the world. I use the writing a book example a lot because I can relate to that, but maybe you've always wanted to write a book. You've said it since you were a kid, and then you haven't done it. Go back and really think about what was important to you when you were younger. You see, when I was 18, I discovered my passion. I discovered my dream. I wanted to motivate and inspire and encourage other people just like I saw Zig Ziglar doing. I'm in my 40s now, and you know what? That dream has not changed. Now, yes, I had to go through the roller coaster of life, and I did not make a straight, it wasn't point A to point B that got me where I'm at. But the bottom line is my dream didn't change. So if you want to overcome procrastination, you have to get real clear. What is your dream? What is it you want? Putting the calendar in place is the easy part. Figuring out what's the most important is the only way you're going to take action on something. But I guarantee you go back, some of those dreams are still there. And step number 4. This sounds so easy and so simple, but this is really the hardest step. You just have to start living now. You have to take action. You have to move forward. Take action now. No matter what it is that you want to accomplish, whether it's taking that trip, whether it's, starting a company, whether it's losing the weight, whatever it is for you, you can't make it happen until you make one small step. When I was writing my book and really putting my business together, I had this slogan that I would say to myself a lot, and it is, you don't have to get it right to get it going. But the hardest step is really just making that first step. So what I'm suggesting is if you really want to overcome, accomplish a lot, be more productive, stop the busyness, the craziness of your life. Number one, you have to focus in on what's important, but you have to take some action. You have to take a small step. You have to take that giant goal, but break it down into small pieces so that it's realistic. Like I was saying on the Power of 3, you can't put down, I want to lose 10 pounds, because you can't do that in one day. That's a big goal. But take action on something small. Okay, maybe today, eat a small breakfast or a more sensible lunch. Or maybe tomorrow, you walk for 30 minutes. But you're taking action. And a little bit of action is going to motivate you to keep going and keep going and keep going. Because that's what it's really all about. Some of you have heard this story about my friend Tom, who has made such a huge impact on my life. And not Tom Ziegler. It's actually a different Tom, this particular story. And Tom is in his early 40s, about 41, 42. Great guy, great family, wonderful wife, kids. He's physically fit. He takes care of himself. He runs, and he eats right. And he does all the things that, we know are important in order to keep us healthy. Just a great guy. Well, Tom goes in for an annual doctor's appointment. It's his physical. And he hadn't gone in the last couple of years, but he went in, did some tests, your normal physical, no big deal. But the doctor found something that he said looked a little bit off, and he wanted to take a test and send in, he found a lump, and he wanted to test it to see if there was maybe a problem here. Doctor said, don't worry about it, you're healthy as a horse, but I'll call you if there's a problem. Well, they got a call. They got a call to come back into the office, so they knew it was something. But nothing could have prepared them for what they heard that day. Not only did Tom have cancer, he was stage 4, and the doctor gave him 6 months to live. 6 months to live. What do you do with that? Here's a man who is the epitome of health. He's so young. He has his whole future ahead of him. Things are going so well for him, and he's thinking, there is no way. And then he went through the normal cycle of all the grief. Then he was angry. Why is this happening? How could this happen to me? I've done everything right. This isn't fair. And then sadness. Well, what if I do die? What if I'm not here for my kids, my wife? What's going to happen to them? But then finally Tom got to a place of acceptance. And he realized, he said to himself, no matter how I behave right now, there is still a chance that I may not live as long as I want to. So he made a commitment. He decided, you know what? Life is too short, obviously, so I am going to focus only on the things that matter. I'm going to spend time only with the people I really want to be with. I'm going to do the things I love. I'm going to, stop being busy and focus in on what's really important. And that's exactly what he did. So for the next several months, he spent more time with those kids and his wife than he ever had. He got back to something he loved. He loved to write. And when the kids came, he stopped writing. So at night, he made a commitment that after he put the kids to bed, he would write. And he wrote stories. He wrote stories for his kids, things that they did when they were young, funny little stories about trips that they took. And he also wrote about things that he wanted to share with his kids. And in case he wasn't around, he wanted to make sure it was in writing. Well, Tom died 6.5 months after that doctor's appointment. 6.5 months. And, the family was obviously devastated. But his wife said something to me at the funeral that literally changed my life. And it is truly what motivates me to do what I do today. And that is, he said, about a week before he died, he told his wife that he was grateful for the prognosis. Because without it, he never would have experienced what it really feels like to live. I don't know about you, but that just hit me between the eyes, and I thought, why do we need the prognosis of death to allow ourselves to finally live, to allow ourselves to finally go after what's important to us? I mean, yes, we're all so busy. And if you joined this webcast thinking I was going to be able to share with you and tell you ways that you're never going to be busy again, I'm sorry to say it's not going to happen. You're always going to be busy. But you have a choice to make of what are you going to be busy with. Is it going to be the things that bring you joy? Is it going to be the things that you know you were created to do? Are you going to follow your calling, your purpose, your passion? If you don't, then what's going to happen? You know, hopefully we're all going to live a long time, but the bottom line is this: we're all going to die someday. So taking action, I don't mean later. I mean right now. What are you going to do right now? You know, when I had that happen to me, when I decided to write my book, it wasn't a good time. It wasn't a perfect time. I didn't have the funds. I didn't have even some of the belief. I didn't have what I thought I needed to make it happen, but I did it. I took one little step, and over time, that created what I'm doing today. And I'm doing what I love, and I'm doing my passion. So taking action, it's more than just a simple thing to say. It's really about doing it. It's about making the commitment, making a commitment to yourself. You know, we're all committed to so many people. We're committed to our children and our families and all that. But make a commitment to yourself that you're worth it, that your goals are worth it, and put it in place. Stop being busy, and it really is your choice. So take action now. I'm going to bring Tom back up, and we're going to, I think, take some questions.
All right. Awesome, Michelle. Yeah, let me check here. We got some questions coming in.
Great.
Let's see here. Betty from Chicago. My problem is distraction. Mm-hmm. Is that there are many people I'm accountable to that can interrupt my plan of action. Mm-hmm. Any suggestions on how to regroup again once interrupted?
Well, definitely. I mean, we all get distractions. People are going to come into our lives or maybe come into the office. But you do have to set boundaries, though. So if somebody comes in and interrupts you, you can either very politely say, you know what, I'm wrapping something up. Let's reconvene in about 5 minutes, or I'll come see you. It's just a really polite way of saying, my time is valuable and I'm in the middle of something. But one thing I didn't mention earlier, and this actually really works, if you're in an office environment, this especially works. Go invest in some headphones or some earplugs. I know that sounds silly, but putting the headphones on does two things. One, you can put in some really relaxing, maybe classical music, something to kind of motivate you, or listen to Success 2.0 webcast to get you going in your day. But what it really does is it's sending a message to other people around that you're busy, that you're involved in something else, that you're listening to something. So whether you set that boundary by posting, your office hours, whether you put those headphones on, somebody has to really think before they interrupt you because you're very focused. But it does all come back to, boundaries and knowing that your time is valuable, and asking someone to wait while you finish something is okay to do.
Okay, next question here. Joseph from Sanger. Relationships are so important in today's business world. How do I tell someone I care about them and want to listen to them, but I have something else to do right now?
Well, kind of like on that same note, and it's a lot like with our children. How many times do our kids come to us, Mom, I need to talk to you about something, and we're on the phone. It's always when we're on the phone or busy with something. So kind of the way we tell our children is the same way you would tell anyone else, is, what you have to say is very important. However, I'm right in the middle of something, and I need to wrap this up. I don't think people get angry if you respect your time. I think they actually admire you for it. I think that they... we're in a society where you really can bother anyone at any time. Now that we have cell phones, bosses feel like they can call you all hours of the night. But it boils down to boundaries. I personally, I work in an industry that doesn't necessarily stop on a Friday, but I have a commitment to my kids and my husband that I don't work on weekends. I don't answer work phone calls. I set that boundary. So a lot of it is more what you do to let other people know when you're available. But there always are those distractions, and sometimes you just have to smile and be nice.
Absolutely. Let's see. I'm going to ask you one more question, and then we'll go to the close here. But I wanted to repeat this. We have 3 winners. I may have only said 2 names earlier. John Robinson from North Carolina, Danielle, and Carol Corp. So those are the winners. We'll be getting you the information. Yay, way to go. So this is an email question. This will be the last one. How about turning off your email notification? I've been advised to do that, but I hate to miss emails I need to answer.
Okay, that's a great question, and I understand this because the same thing happens to me. But I learned something. Somebody else's urgent does not necessarily mean you're urgent. And the thing with email, when an email comes in, it's stopping you. So it's, ping, you have a new email. So you immediately, again, that multitasking, you stop, you look. It takes you away from maybe you're being creative, maybe you're focused. But it's also prioritizing somebody else. With email, the thing I don't like about it is people do think that they can just kind of intrude in your day and that you'll get back to them immediately. It all still boils back to it's your time. So setting the time to check email is great. And in fact, I have a couple clients, what they do is they do an autoresponder and say, I only check email, from 12 to 1 and 5 to 6. I'll get back to you in a reasonable time. But keep in mind that no matter what comes at you, and I know there's always urgent emails, but most of them aren't urgent in the kind of urgent that we're talking about. They're urgent to them, but it doesn't mean you have to react to them. So it is a balance, though, and you do have to just be really diligent about setting the times that you check the email, but do shut it off. You will be amazed how much, not having that ping come up keeps you focused.
All right. Let me see that for a second, Michelle.
You bet.
As we close up, I'm going to turn it over to Michelle here in a second, but I love her slide, Take Action Now. In the Takes Action Now slide, that is the key. Because we can get excited, we can get motivated, we can get fired up, and we can walk out and do nothing. But if we take action now, things start to change. So there's two things I really want to encourage you to take action on. The first one is if you're not a member of Success 2.0, you need to check out our trial for just $1. Do you realize for the next 30 days, you could get up just a few minutes early, get your dose of Zig, download something, and change what goes into your mind. You see, you are who you are and what you are because of what's gone into your mind, and you can change who you are and what you are by changing what goes into your mind. Take action now on putting the right things in your mind. Test it out. Give it a try. I know that you'll love it. The second thing is Michelle has a free audio download. It's at busybeingbusy.com, and you know what? You put that in your mind, it's going to change who you are. And it's going to start right away. I love the idea of getting up an hour early, getting started on your day, taking action now. The most important thing you can do first thing in the morning is choosing what you're going to put into your mind. Take action now on putting the right things in your mind. So, Michelle, close us up here.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And actually, I want to give a little credit to Tom on that, getting up early. I learned some of that from him because he actually does this on a regular basis, and it's because he boils down what's the most important things. It's again, getting back to what's most important. And his spiritual, his physical, and his mental are extremely important to him. So he gets up an hour early to listen or read, to go for a walk, and also have his quiet time. So I love that. Thank you, Tom, for sharing that with me originally because it does motivate me. But here's the bottom line. I said it already. Busy is not going away. And in fact, I think it's only going to get worse. So figuring out how to manage the craziness. It's not the juggling act. It's the balancing act. But it boils back down to what are you here to do? What is important to you? What are you passionate about? Get those things in your calendar first, and I guarantee you everything else finds its way in. But you have to figure out first and foremost what is important to you. I do believe that we all have a purpose, and I believe we're all extraordinary. But we can't be extraordinary if we're not taking action. So make a commitment, put some steps in place, and stop being busy, and get busy